Hi, my name is Rachel, and today we're going to be talking about the new wave of period dramas. I'll be talking about this in reference to the show My Lady Jane, set in 16th century England, and as it suggests, it follows the life of Lady Jane Grey. What the show does is it explores themes of power and class and complex social dynamics, all while reimagining the life of Lady Jane Grey and reinventing this basic structure of what we know to be a period drama. It's based in history, but the plot and the narrative take a more fantastical turn. So in the show, two human races exist, Verities and we have Ethians. Ethians are a race of human that are able to shapeshift and literally transform into animals.
On all levels except physical, I'm a wolf.
Verities don't do anything, but they are part of the ruling power in England at the time, and they basically are a majority of the kingdom. And because they don't like Ethians, because they don't have these sick powers, they've kind of cast them out, and there's now a divide in the kingdom.
The story follows Lady Jane as she marries her husband through an arranged marriage. She becomes queen once her cousin, the king, dies. She's dethroned. She tries to unite the kingdom. She's in a beheading.
Some of that actually did happen. Did actually become queen. She was dethroned, and she was beheaded.
Before moving on, I want to point out that My Lady Jane is a serial drama, which means a few different things. In terms of the narrative structure, the show expects viewers to have watched previous episodes because the narrative is continuous throughout the season. Also talking about the narrative, there are many different enigmas running at once throughout an episode. We see this in the different enigmas throughout the season, like Jane's defiance to her marriage, King Edward trying to find out who's trying to kill him, Guilford trying to find a cure, and Jane trying to reunite the kingdom, just to name a few. Also with enigmas and problems, we see this narrative cause and effect structure at play, in that many of the enigmas never come to a full conclusion and instead develop into further problems for the characters. Also, specific to a serial is that there is a recurring cast of characters, which we see in this show, and its large and inclusive cast. All of these things make the show a serial drama and thus a period drama.
So think of any period drama that you've ever seen or heard of. What does it try to do? It tries to educate the audience, it tries to be authentic to history, it follows historical texts, and it tries to recreate history as best as it can. For shows like My Lady Jane, there's kind of a breakdown of different types of period dramas. So Robert Rosenstone, an author of history films, kind of breaks this down. He describes a mainstream period drama, which My Lady Jane is. A mainstream period drama, like My Lady Jane, doesn't follow this outdated notion of a period drama has to follow history, it has to educate, it has to be authentic. Instead, it's based in history, but it takes more creative freedoms and liberties. This show does inform about the life of the real Lady Jane, but it also has transforming people who can shapeshift and become horses. The show doesn't claim to be authentic by any means, but what it does claim is plausibility. And what that means is, yeah, okay, people can't shapeshift, but hey, maybe this depiction of Lady Jane Grey is plausible. We can even look, and we can take a more film bro approach and look at the mise-en-scène. Things like costuming, the actors on screen, hair and makeup, all of this can add to this accuracy or plausibility of history. Let's take Lady Jane's beheading. The depictions and the history books of what we have of her beheading, we know that she was probably in something very basic, white clothing, it was a public event, and it was probably outdoors. We see in this scene from the show is exactly kind of what I described. Lady Jane Grey is in all white. She has no makeup of any kind, no hair, crazy hairstyles. It's outside, it's a public event, a lot of people are gathered. The set design makes sense, right?
Just to elaborate a bit more, the use of mise-en-scène in this scene, and like many others in the show throughout the season, it develops the show's historical plausibility and adds a layer of historical authenticity that contributes to the show's classification as a period drama.
Lady Jane is able to comment on and challenge history, and what shows like this do is it directly connects history to the present, and it asks us to critique what we know history to be. So it talks about themes of feminism and gender roles, classism and power struggles, racism and prejudice, individualism, social expectations. For example, it talks about feminism and gender in the way it critiques the way women were expected to be wives. It does that by allowing Jane to be a direct rejection of that idea, right? She rejects the idea of being the damsel in distress stereotype. She's a strong female lead. She wants to be educated. She loves medicine and learning about medicine, all things that probably were not likely for women in 16th century England. Also, the show is based on this classism and power struggle, and we see that in the way that Ethians are treated and cast aside in society. Because they're a different human race, it talks to racism at the time and what that might have looked like. What all of this does for our social and cultural themes is it allows us to critique not only the past, but the present. And it's not this boring period drama that we've seen repeated over and over and over again. It tells us something the history books can't. It looks to the past with a scope of presentism and modernism and gives us a new perspective. It includes humor and vulgar language and a modern soundtrack, which all allows the audience to better connect to these ideas of history and understanding history. Period dramas can be historically accurate, but there's a lot more that we can gain from this new wave of period drama. And instead of reiterating the same history, we can look to critiquing the past, and it can bring up more meaningful and significant discourses on history. So I want to leave you with this quote by Rosenstone, which says, "The visual form of historical thinking exists as a separate realm, one with its own set of rules and procedures for creating works with their own historical integrity, works which relate to, comment upon, and often challenge the world of written history." Yeah, period dramas can be a lot more, and My Lady Jane serves as a perfect example of that. Thanks for listening, although you had to.